Do you ever get stuck in decision making? And it can be just in general life. It can be as an empath, for example. Do I leave the narcissist? Do I stay? Do I take that risk? I love them. I'm going to miss them in the future. It can be a job opportunity. Do I ask for the promotion? Do I take the risk and start this entrepreneurial venture? Do I write that book? And there are all these decisions that, through our fear of making the decision, of taking the risk, we become paralyzed, we become numb. And then something very painful happens in life when we are indecisive. Life will make the decision for you, and then it ends up becoming a very, very painful lesson. You can minimize that pain and make healthy decisions by optimizing the outcome. And it's based basically on two things that are going to optimize all your decision making moving forward. The principles I outline in this book here, Think Like an Artist. I learned so much about life, about creativity, about risk, about being the best version of yourself, living authentically in my years in Cirque du Soleil as an acrobat. A lot of insight from those lessons, but I also leverage the creative, the artistic process. And it's a beautiful metaphor for life that will help you along your journey of growth. I'm going to start by using a Michael Jordan quote about failure. A lot of the reasons why we fail to make decisions is the fear of failure. It's the fear of failure. It feels horrible. It reminds us, it could trigger past events reminding us that we're lesser than, that we're not good enough, that we're not worthy. And so we don't want to feel that again. But failure is actually one of the most beautiful motivators in life. And it's a beautiful platform to propel you forward. And the Michael Jordan quote is this. If you don't know Michael Jordan, arguably the GOAT in basketball. And he says this about failure. And when I heard this quote, it changed so much for me because I started to understand I'd always been programmed, failure is not an option. Failure is not an option. I cannot fail. I will not fail. And that very pressure prevents you from taking those risks, from moving forward, because you don't want to fail. You don't want to be perceived as bad. So here's the quote. Michael Jordan said this: I've missed over 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost more than 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed. So my takeaway from that was, in order to achieve greatness, in order to become a better version of yourself, failure is an inevitable part of the journey. And so if you accept that and understand, I am going to fail, but my failure is purely a tool, a conduit to become the version of me that I want to become. Living with that philosophy as a platform frees you immediately, because now the fear gets removed, the fear of failure, because you start to understand the failure is not negative. The failure is just a stepping stone, and it is inevitable. So you're almost freed of responsibility, of shame, and of guilt, because it's inevitable. There's a Russian expression, I'm not going to say it in Russian, but it translates vaguely, roughly to, if you want to drink champagne, no, he who doesn't take risk will never drink champagne. So if you want to drink champagne, take the risk. Fall flat on your face. That's another part of the Cirque du Soleil lesson that we learned. They would push us out of our comfort zone, and they would sometimes challenge us, humiliate us, embarrass us, intimidate us, to the point where you would sometimes freeze in your tracks. And then they would push you that little bit more. And strangely enough, once you get past the fear, you suddenly discover talents and abilities within you, the resilience, the depth of your character. You start to tap into that, and you realize there is so much more to me than I could have possibly imagined. Step out of your comfort zone in every and any endeavor. Take that risk. Fall flat on your face. fail miserably, but fail forward. That's ultimately what you've got to understand. You're failing forward. Think like an artist. The artist process, continually taking risks. Now, you don't take blind, reckless risks. There is a level of calculation. It's based on past experiences. You analyze the odds of success. And here's the most important one. The heart, or your gut, your intuition. Always tap into your intuition. That's how the greats optimize their risk-taking. They tap into their intuition. Going back to Michael Jordan. He doesn't overthink when he's taking the shot. He just becomes the shot. He is in the moment. He trusts his intuition. And he just does. Nike, just do it. He just does. As I paint, I fail miserably multiple times. Why? Because I'm continually striving to learn and grow, so I take risks. But how do I optimize my risks? Or how do I minimize the failure? I trust my intuition. I've got knowledge, I've got wisdom, I've studied art. So for example, this one is a piece I'm working on. It's a minimalist piece. So now the risk that I'm going to take, it's not a dramatic risk, but it's a risk nonetheless. I want to add a bit of a yin-yang element to it. So somewhere here, I want to add a black dot. Question is, do I put it down here? Do I put it there? Do I put it there? Where do I put this black dot to achieve my objective? Well, the answer is I'm only going to really know, the only way I'm going to really know is by taking the risk and putting the black dot. But again, I'm leveraging technique. I understand composition. I'm leveraging all of those things, past paintings that I've done, but I'm also just trusting my intuition. It feels like it belongs in a certain place, and that's what I'm going to go with. So I've got pure intuition, a level of reasoning, and now this is maybe the most defining thing about risk taking. What's the consequence if I fail? What does that mean? Well, this is just a canvas with little significance. If I mess this up, I simply paint over the mistake and go again. So the risk-reward ratio is pretty high. I fail, no big deal. I paint over it, I try again. But now let's say that this was the last canvas on planet Earth, and I could not mess this up, and I had to deliver this in the next 10 minutes, and somebody paid a lot of money. Now the pressure increases, the risk-reward ratio, I'm feeling the pressure, I have to deliver. That's when you tap more into your intuition, because it just feels right to be right there. Now, the fear of the consequences have augmented due to the price, and this is the last canvas on planet Earth. So how do I remove that fear? Because in real life, sometimes the consequences are dire. I could lose my job. If it's the narcissist partner and you're not sure whether you are ready to move on, well, if I take the risk and call them out on their BS and it doesn't work out, I will have lost what I feel is the love of my life. You simply have to remind yourself that. And now I'm going to use a quote by Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela says, "I never lose. I either win or I learn." So you've got to tap into that with all the heavy consequences. If I do mess up the painting and I can't deliver and I lose the money, I still don't lose because I would have learned something. Painful lesson, but I would have still learned something. Which means that the next time I'm in a situation, I will be a little bit more qualified. And if you look back at your own life, you've failed miserably along the way. You've been hurt multiple times along the way, but it's now a part of your character. All those lessons, really, what is experience? Experience means I messed up and I learned. When you start to really compartmentalize the journey of risk-taking and look at it a little bit more logically, less emotionally, because again, the pain, the wound of failure hurts. But if you separate emotionally and you look at it more analytically, you will find yourself in a much more empowered position to take the risk. And then there's the other element of tapping into your playful inner child. And a part of creativity is you just simply explore. You know that you're going to explore. You're going to climb that tree, and maybe you're going to fall, and maybe you're going to break your wrist. I did. But it's all part of the journey that is life. And really, that's what it comes down to. Enjoy the journey with a playful, childlike mindset. And as a child, until it gets programmed by society, children hear on average 232 no's a day by their parents or by other adults, which removes your willingness to be playful and to take risks, because as a child, your imagination runs rampant. You don't yet know fear. The only fear you're going to know is instinctual fear to protect you from danger. But in terms of just growth and life, as the child, you just play and you discover. The infant doesn't tell itself, you know what, this walking stuff isn't for me. I've tried 100 times, I'm going to give up. No, the infant is pure, filled with imagination and infinite possibility. And you've got to tap into that inner child of yours when you're taking those risks. And again, know it's going to hurt, but I either win or I learn. I never, ever lose. Once again, that Michael Jordan quote. This hopefully will become your mantra. It became my mantra and changed my life exponentially. I've missed over 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost more than 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed. Go take that risk. Go read. Think like an artist. Become empowered. Connect with your true self. Live life on your terms. Live life authentically. It's a beautiful and powerful thing.